Welcome to my channel. Today I am finally sharing my 2024 reading journal setup. Last year I used a A5 Rhodia notebook with cream paper, and this year I'm using this Archer and Olive square notebook with really white paper. So it was a bit difficult for me to figure out how exactly I wanted everything to look. I'm hoping my video editor will have less difficulty color correcting my videos. Right now the software doesn't recognize the difference between my hands and the paper, and it sees this as a skin tone but not my hands, which is a bit racist if you ask me. I'm hoping since the paper is really white that there won't be so much of an issue. I mean, look at that tan. Look at it. Whew. A lot of the paper that I used in this notebook came from this paper pad from Recollections. I got it at Michael's, and this is what inspired most of the decorations in here. And it's the dark academia one. I got into embossing last year, so I decided to do that for the cover page. I'm trying not to emboss every single page in here. I really do enjoy doing this. These stickers I got from Temu. I'm not sure if I'm completely happy with how this page is, but I didn't want to leave it blank, so I just added it in here. Then I just have a basic contents page. I use Roman numerals for my collection pages, and then I'm not actually numbering my pages after that because I don't actually look at the numbers ever. I always end up covering the number anyways. So my goal, as always, is to read 100 books. I've never gotten that many read in a year. I've read about 90, I think was the highest I ever got. And for some reason, I won't lower that number. I'm like, nope, I'm going to try for 100 and then hate myself when I don't. That's how I am. I'm going to try to read 50 short stories. Last year I read, I think, 52. I have a tendency to start short story collections and anthologies and never finishing them. I will read a few stories out of it and set it aside, pick up another one, and I'll read it over the course of years, which is fine. It's just I'd like to finish a few of the books. I have a list of 1001 books you must read before you die or grow up. The Before You Die is the adult version, and the Before You Grow Up is the children's version, and I just want to read at least 10 books from those lists. I want to read 5 award winners, so like the Pulitzer, the Man Booker Prize. This will be the first year that I tried doing the A to Z challenge. Purchased no more than 50 books. Last year I bought 72. That's not good. Although in January I didn't buy any books, and we are halfway through February and I have not purchased any books yet. So I think I'm going to cave here soon. I haven't felt the urge to buy any books, but it's going to happen. It's coming, and then I'm going to end up buying like 6 at a time. So visit 3 new bookstores. There's a few in Seattle that I'd like to check out. Read in a coffee shop, read at a park, unhaul 100 books, and then I want to read 5 nonfiction books at least. Naturally, I'm, according to Goodreads, about 7 books behind schedule. I'm trying to not let it get to me. I was having a lot of difficulty mathing, and so I put 100 over here because I couldn't figure out how to arrange this properly. Counting's hard, you guys. This year, I'm hoping I can actually stick to this system. Each of these boxes represents a standalone novel, a finished series, or 5 unread books that I've decluttered. And it has to be a finished series. If I read book 2 of a series, I can immediately go out and purchase book 3. The only books that go on this list are standalones or the first books in a series. So I read 4 books so far this year. 2 of them were actually duologies, but I decided not to read the sequels, so I marked them in here because I'm finished with it. I hope that makes sense. It's not complicated, but I always have difficulty explaining it. But look at, I am able to buy a book right now, and I don't even feel like doing that. As you can see, I have a lot of unread books. I started out with 460. I read 3 books. I acquired 0. I think that deserves a reward, like a book. or a pen. And so that gives me 457 for the beginning of February. These stickers I got from Sticky Club. And I forgot to mention what pens I've been using. Normally I use mild liners in my journals, but I wanted to start using my Tombos more. Naturally, none of the Tombos that I had matched the color scheme I was going for, so I had to buy the Cottage set. But I'm using this Tombow 992 and Tombow 192. And for a pen, I'm using my Pelikan M600 in the white and violet color. And it is inked up with Diamine Ink Sherwood Green. This is a fine nib. Last year I was all over the place with my collection pages. So this year I wanted to keep my color palette limited. And then immediately I turn the page and it is a different color. So this is the only page that I'm going to use black ink. So this is the first year I'm trying to do the A to Z challenge, and naturally I had to do an 80s theme. So the A to Z challenge is just where you read a book that's title starts with the corresponding letter in the alphabet. I haven't filled it in because I don't want to ruin it. I liked how this turned out, which is very unusual for me to like anything that I do. I stuck in some pirate themed stickers because their whole thing is pirates. This is my alt bias, San. I'm obsessed. I would give this man my kidney. And this is my bias wrecker, Yo-sang, and he is welcome to my other kidney. I have been listening to K-pop since my friend introduced me to Supernova in 2010. And so I've had a lot of favorite groups. I've had a lot of biases. I mean, I went from Beast, B1A4. I did like BTS for a long time. I still like them. Don't get me wrong. Don't come at me, ARMY. I'm Black. BAP. Warrior.
Team Top, we gon' rock it, drop it, top it. Hey, don't stop it, pop it.
I'm an elderly K-pop stan, right? But I've never gotten as obsessed with a group as I have with ATEEZ. Stray Kids has been a close second, though. I just had a dream with Bang Chan in it. What were we doing? I think we were in class. I'm a little old for class. We were also building Viking ships, and he loaned me 3 plaid shirts. What else was in that dream? It was bizarre. We were like besties, though.
Chrissy, I knew.
Last year, I made monthly TBR lists, and it got to be a little overwhelming because I was focusing so much on those rather than the series that I had started the year before. And so I made them a priority this year. But I wasn't going to include lists, even though lists are my life. But I decided to add it in. Actually, I think I had to add it in because I miscounted the pages and accidentally left 2 blank. Counting's hard, you guys. But this is a little bit more reasonable than what I had last year. These are not all the books I purchased in 2023, but they are the ones that I thought I would be most interested in reading. These are more of those stickers that I got from Temu. And then I just have a list of nonfiction books that I own. I think this is about most of them, actually. I obviously won't fill this in until the end of the year, but I just want to keep track of like how many books I'm rereading, how many books I unhauled, like what was my most read author, and then I will go into Excel and create pie charts and stick them in where these Post-its are. So I'm keeping track of genres, ratings, categories, the published date, and I'm adding this year whether it was a standalone, part of a series, or an anthology. And I embossed this as well. I'm obsessed with this gold color. I don't like gold, but for some reason I really like this. This is new this year. I first saw this on somebody's YouTube channel. I think it was Plant-Based Bride, but I'm not certain. I think this would be really fun to fill out. Then we have the book bracket. This I for sure got from Plant-Based Bride. I also didn't want to figure out how to space these apart, so I copied hers pretty much exactly. I did do it last year. It was emotionally distressing trying to figure out what was my favorite book of the year, but I managed to figure out that it was Aoadi on top. And then we have January. So I keep track of when I start a book and then just draw a line and then when I finish it. And obviously the X's are the days that I don't read. I didn't purchase any books. Look at that. Now, what do I put there now? I don't know. Now we finally get to the book entries. This stupid butterfly doesn't want to stay down. Quit trying to fly away. Last year, I only used black ink in my entries, and this year I'm going to switch it up according to my decorations and the book. Stay down. So A Little Princess is about a young rich girl who grows up in India. She's sent to a boarding school in London, and she's treated like a little princess when she arrives. She makes friends, she makes enemies, especially with the headmistress who just wants to use her to be like, oh, well, we have this very well-to-do child at our school. She's just using her for clout. Is that what the kids call it these days? But then her father loses all his money and dies. It happens. And she has to live at the school, but she's now working there as a servant. But even though like she's being basically starved, she never stops acting like a little princess. And look, it's illustrated. I love it. Look at it. They could be twins. I got this sticker from the antiquarian sticker book. It's perfect. Perfect. I read her book, The Secret Garden, a couple years ago, and I really loved it. I used to watch I believe like the 1970s BBC version of it, and I watched it a lot with my grandma, and I just loved it. But because of that, I thought that the little girl in here was going to be a complete brat. But I'm just like everyone else in the novel who just judges her just because she has money. She is a very clever and kind child, and I loved her character. Makes me feel a bit stupid, honestly. A bit stupid. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention that with all these different inks that I'm using this Kakimori brass nib so that I don't have to ink up a fountain pen every time I want to try a different ink. I'm not entirely happy with the way that it turned out because I'm still getting used to writing with this nib, but yeah, I wanted to definitely switch up the colors this year, and that was one of the reasons why I purchased this. Stop staring at me. Stop it. Freaking me out. Next, I read Berserker by Emmy Laybourne. It follows 4 siblings who inherited powers that were given to their ancestors by the Norse gods. The main character is a berserker who is compelled to protect her family at all costs, and they are forced to flee Norway after she kills the men that murder her father. So in America, they make their way to Montana. They're escorted by an Irish cowboy, and they're looking for their uncle, who is also a berserker, who they hope will help her control her powers. So it's a weird combination of Viking lore and cowboys, but it works. I did only give it 3 stars for enjoyment. I gave it 4 for craft, and then overall I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't bad, I just kept setting it down and not feeling like picking it back up. And I did not like the youngest sister. And for that reason, I won't be reading the sequel, which is from her point of view. I also just feel that I'm fine with leaving the story as it is. I just don't need to continue it. So I decorated it with some paper I got from Temu. Hope that's a crow. But actually, now that I'm looking at it, that's white. So that's probably not a crow, maybe a magpie. I don't know. Not a crow, a raven. Oh my God. The next book I read was Chasing Shadows by, she has a pronunciation of her name here, hold on, this. I actually love that she's from Minnesota. She went to the University of Minnesota. I also went to the University of Minnesota, and she teaches at Hamlin. I received this a long time ago in a subscription box. I would not have picked it up otherwise. I don't even think I had heard of it. So this is about twins who are gunned down by a random assailant while they're in their car. The brother is killed. The sister is sent into a coma, while their friend who witnessed the whole thing is forced to deal with feelings of guilt and helplessness because she wasn't able to save them. And then the sister finally wakes up and she's hell-bent on finding the killer, and she's heavily influenced by her favorite comic book superhero. She's also convinced her brother is in a place called the Shadowlands and that she needs to save him from it. And she starts blending fantasy and reality. So it's about friendship, loss, grief, mental illness. We have Holly, who is the one who ends up in a coma, and Savitri, who is the friend who witnessed the murder. I didn't care for Holly's chapters because her voice was kind of annoying. She capitalizes a lot of words, and it just felt like the author was trying too hard to write a angsty, snarky teen character. But then we get to Savitri's chapters, and I thought hers were a lot better written. And she's just more mature. And it also has these graphic novel chapters in it. Okay, she needs to stop staring. Stop that. I'm just gonna switch that around. I didn't read a 4th book in January, so this page I left blank. And I will either do a book quote in here, or I was thinking about trying to stick this in here. I just copied it from the book. Might cut it down and put it in here somewhere. I'm not sure yet what I'm gonna do. Then we have February, which I read yesterday. So I'm currently reading The Name of the Rose. It's a very long book. And there's so much Latin in it that they don't translate. I'm like, hello, footnotes. You know what those are? Have not bought any books. I actually filmed myself setting up this book page, so I'm gonna hold off showing it to you until the end of the month or maybe March. I don't know if I'm gonna end up filling up this notebook. Like, I have a lot of pages and I've been reading at a glacial pace lately. I kind of like the idea of having just an ongoing book journal that I don't set up every year. If I don't fill this up, I don't want to waste all those pages. And I like the idea, like how I did with my short story journal, where I just have a cover page and then my content page, and then a page for each story that I read. And this I will use until it's full, and then I'll move on to the next one. But then I wouldn't have all these goals. I wouldn't have all these lists. But then I could do it in my TBR journal. Don't complicate things. Just don't complicate it. Let me know down in the comments if you're keeping a reading journal this year and what you're using, how it's going for you. Let me know if you've read any really good books this year. I'm always looking for recommendations. Even though I honestly don't need any. I have way too many books. Maybe don't. But also, I am able to buy at least one book, so tell me what book I should buy. Thank you for watching. Bye! Next, I read Berserker. But there's, how the frick do I explain this? What are words? Whatever. I know I have problems. I accept them. Woof.